Hi second graders, this is Mrs. Samia, and today I'm going to show you how to draw basic 3D forms. Forms have 3 dimensions and they're one of our elements of art. You also learn about form in math class. Today we're going to learn about drawing forms, because if you can learn how to draw forms, you could draw just about anything. A lot of different things around us are made of forms. So shapes have 2 dimensions. That means they have length and width. So length and then width goes across. But forms have 3 dimensions: length, width, and the 3rd dimension is depth. So that means it goes back in a space. What I like to tell students is that if we had a refrigerator and it didn't have that 3rd dimension depth, you want to be able to open up your refrigerator. You want to be able to put anything in your refrigerator. So that's a very important part of a space, is having that 3rd dimension to be able to have things not be flat. So form has 3 dimensions. That's what 3D is short for. It has length, width, and depth. So today I'm going to show you how to draw a cube, a rectangular prism, a cylinder, and a cone. Our first form that I'm going to show you today is a cube, and some of you might be familiar with how to draw a cube already. I'm going to show you one way to do it, but there are many ways. But I want you to try out this technique. So the first step is to draw a square, and remember, a square has 4 equal sides. I'm not using a ruler, so I'm just going to guess and estimate that all the sides are about the same. Next, after I draw my square, I'm going to put a dot in the middle. From that dot, I'm going to draw a straight line that goes either down. I could have also drawn it up. So either here or here, a line coming out of the middle of the square. I'm going to turn that line now into a square that's about the same size as the square I already drew. So now I have 2 overlapping squares. This next step, after I draw the 2 overlapping squares, is to connect the corner. So I'm going to connect this corner to this corner with a straight line. Same here. So all of these are going to connect. Now this is a transparent cube. I could erase some of these inside lines and then I would become a solid cube. For practicing today, we're just going to start with this transparent cube. Okay, our next form is going to be a rectangular prism, which I'm going to show you next because it's very similar to drawing a cube. So you're going to start with a rectangle. Find the middle, a little dot in the middle of my rectangle, and then I'm going to draw another rectangle that's going to be around the same size as the first one. Now I have 2 overlapping rectangles. Same thing as before, I'm going to connect the corners. Now this rectangular prism looks very tall. I could also draw a rectangular prism that was wide. This would be great if you're going to draw a box, a treasure chest, toy box. Even a building is made up of a rectangular prism, or sometimes cubes, or sometimes a combination of both. I'm going to straighten that line, and then all I have to do is connect the corners. So there's another rectangular prism. Okay, so they can go different directions, as you can see. Okay, our next form I'm going to show you today is a cone. And there's 2 ways to do this. You can start with a top part of a triangle, and then at the bottom of the triangle, draw something called an ellipse. It's a long, skinny oval. So I'm going to curve over and up. So see how this looks like an oval, and it connects at the bottom of the triangle. Instead, if you want, you could start with that oval. There we go. And then from the furthest edge of the oval, you can draw lines that are pointing up and coming together to a point. And a little mistake, there we go. Up to a point from the edge. I'm going to fix this edge too. Okay, so there are 2 cones. Now these cones are we can see the bottom of it. Sometimes you might have a cone and you may not be able to see the bottom of it. So if I just draw a curve here, I don't see the bottom of this. This might be sitting on a table. I might be standing above this cone. You could also draw a cone. You might recognize this as an ice cream cone. So cones are used in lots of different things. Our next form is a cylinder. There's lots of cylinders around us. So a cylinder is important to learn how to draw. You could use it to draw a can. It could be a cup. It could be a glass of water. It could be lots of different things. A tube of toothpaste. So I'm going to start with that ellipse. An ellipse is a long, skinny oval. Because from the side, a cylinder doesn't look like a circle. From the top, it looks like a circle. From the side, it is stretched out. So I started with that ellipse, and then I'm going to go from the furthest edge on both. So way over here, I'm going to go straight down. And then I'm going to go straight down on this furthest edge. Okay. Now, this curves down. See how this curves down? If this curves down, then this down here has to curve down. If I draw it flat straight, it's going to look flat and two-dimensional. So you must curve it down. So see how the curve here and here matches. You could also draw your cylinder going a different direction. It could go over. Now it might look like a roll of paper towels or maybe toilet paper. But see how it curves here and here. Okay, so these are cylinders. And I'd like you to practice cylinders. Remember to match the curve. So if I curve out this way, this also has to curve out. You don't need to draw arrows on yours, but I want to show you how these are both curving out and they're not flat. If I just draw this flat, it looks like a rectangle, right? Even if I put a curve here and here, it still looks really flat. So having that round curve to it, and put an X to that, that's not what we want. Having the curve to it is what's going to help make it look three-dimensional. So today, I would like you to practice drawing a cylinder, cone, a rectangular prism, and a cube. And I want you to practice each one of these 3 times. Because when you practice something, you just don't do it once, you do it many times. And it's okay if you make a mistake. Making mistakes is part of learning and part of practicing. Like when you learn to play an instrument, if you're practicing a sport, when you do those things, you make mistakes, and that's why you're practicing to get better. So I want you to practice each one of these 3 times, because the more you do it, the better you're going to get. So 3 cubes, 3 rectangular prisms, 3 cones, and 3 cylinders. And then I want you to take a picture of it with your practice paper and then send it to me on Seesaw.